So I've now been to every single Disney park on the planet, and Shanghai Disneyland has to be one of the most unique. So one of those ways is if you think about the quote-unquote Disneyland parks. So Disneyland, of course, in Anaheim, the original, Magic Kingdom, which is Disney World's effective Disneyland, and then you've got Disney Paris, Tokyo Disneyland, Hong Kong Disneyland, and now Shanghai Disneyland. All the other Disneylands kind of have the same basic layout. Of course, they have slightly different attractions, different versions, different castles. But you walk in and you go left, and you got Adventureland and Frontierland, straightforward. You've got your Fantasyland to the right. You've got Tomorrowland, and you've got some form of Main Street USA. In the beginning, Shanghai Disneyland does not follow that formula. In fact, it's so different that effectively you could look at it as more of like a Disney Sea or Disney Studios, Paris, one of the other Walt Disney World parks. It is that different. Yes, it has some elements of a quote-unquote Disneyland, but very different as well. So when you walk in and you see the big, Mickey topiary, and then you see kind of some structure behind, you think, oh, that's where the train is. That's where the Main Street train station. Well, no, there's no train in this park, and that's not a train station. This is some buildings. You walk past that and you think, oh, it's time for Main Street. Well, no, it's Mickey Avenue. It's a very short set of buildings. Does not look like Main Street USA. Just some shops and a cafe and, guest services and things like that. But it's not a Main Street. And then you walk past that and you've got the Garden of Imagination and then the big castle, the Enchanted Storybook Castle. It's not a princess castle. No princess is assigned to it. It's the largest of all the Disney castles, about 200 feet tall. And then you're basically in Shanghai Disneyland's hub. You think, oh, okay, I'll go left, I'll hit Adventureland or Frontierland. No, that's where Tomorrowland is. And as you walk to the left and towards Tomorrowland, you see one thing that Shanghai Disneyland does extremely well, which is using music to transition lands and give you the theming of the land and help with the theming. And as you walk into Tomorrowland, you get this, futuristic kind of sounding music. And you see, these gorgeous buildings, all this kind of stainless steel and silver and glass staircases. And it's quite striking at night, by the way the staircases light up, the way the land lights up the buildings. But as you walk further into Tomorrowland, you get its headline attraction, you get the music of that. So as you transition over towards the beautiful, gorgeous Tron building, you start hearing that awesome Daft Punk soundtrack from Tron Legacy, the most recent Tron movie. And that continues as you walk into the queue of Tron. That music is featured throughout the ride. As you enter that area of the land, as you're on the queue, and then it's featured very prominently, very effectively on the ride itself, and doesn't just play continuously. There's a set soundtrack that's linked up with the ride. It builds up with the big launch in the beginning and continues on the ride from there. But Tron is just amazing. The architecture, the lighting package on it at night. People rave about the lighting package on Hang Time at Knott's Berry Farm, and it's great. I'm not trying to put it down, but if you want to talk about a lighting package, Tron is a lighting package to kill and defeat all other lighting packages. It is just unbelievable how this building lights up and different lights, and how the hexagonal lights follow the coaster as it's launched to the outdoor section at night. It's just unbelievable. So if you're in the hub, Garden of Imagination, and you go straight ahead, that takes you, as you would normally expect, into Fantasyland. And in Fantasyland, you've got a lot of your classic dark rides. You've got Peter Pan. You've got Winnie the Pooh. Unfortunately, it's not Pooh Honey Hunt. It's not that trackless ride they have in Japan. It's more of the Winnie the Pooh that you're used to from Disneyland and Walt Disney World, Magic Kingdom. The headline attraction in this Fantasyland is definitely Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. It's a super fun ride. Yes, it's a Vekoma Mine Train ride, just like the one at Disney World. A couple differences. One, you can get on this mine train, you can get on this Seven Dwarfs ride, unlike the Magic Kingdom one. At least, you know, the off season, like when I went, I could walk on the ride at points. Most of the wait time was maybe 30 to 45 minutes. Easy to get fast passes day of. Again, this is a fun ride. I do like the one at Magic Kingdom. This one seems to be about 10-15 seconds longer. The first half of it leading up into the kind of mini dark ride section, and inside that dark ride cave, the mine, if you will, that's all pretty much the same. What seems to be different is the section after that goes outside, kind of towards the main part of Fantasyland. It seems to be a little more elaborate on the one at Shanghai Disneyland, but regardless, it's a really fun ride. If you walk from Fantasyland towards Tomorrowland, or if you're in Tomorrowland, you walk from there towards Fantasyland, there is a land between them, which again is very unique, again, for Shanghai Disneyland compared to all the other Disneylands, and that's Toy Story Land. Now, before you skip through the next couple minutes of this video, I want to tell you, this is not the budget Toy Story Land that Disney so embarrassingly put into Hollywood Studios. This is not a, trim the money and try to, make it cheap land. This is probably about double the size of the one at Hollywood Studios, has many more rides, actually has a gift shop, an actual building you can go into very creatively. Al's Toy Barn is the gift shop, great theming there. Has a pretty good restaurant area. This is a much, much more elaborate Toy Story Land than what we got in Florida. Now, if you're in the Garden of Imagination in the hub, and you go right, where you normally would expect Tomorrowland to be, you get something completely different and really cool. You walk over to that area and you see a big waterway, and you see a huge waterfall off of a cliff. Almost looks like something you'd see at Yosemite in California. And what you're walking into is kind of basically two lands, or one land with another section of that land, if you will. The main land itself is Adventure Isle, and this is effectively Shanghai Disneyland's Adventureland, although quite different from all the other Adventurelands. And then the one corner of this, the left corner of this area, that kind of big circle that goes around this beautiful waterway, is Treasure Cove, and that's where the Pirates area is, Pirates of the Caribbean ride. But the rest of Adventure Island, this great rides, great theming, beautiful water, lush landscaping, has Roaring Rapids, which is one of the kind of newer style rapids rides that Disney has built with Intamin, like for example Grizzly River Run or Kali Rapids in the US. Roaring Rapids is a great ride. It has a couple drops, one of the big drops that spins you at the end, like you're used to from the US-based Roaring Rapids type rides, rapids rides. But one thing that's really cool about this ride, it's a pretty long ride, and it's a really nice cave section, like, for example, Grizzly River Run does. But one thing that's interesting is at the end of that long cave section, you actually have, in the dark, a decent-sized drop. So nothing crazy huge, but a decent size, kind of a little surprise for everyone. Beautiful ride, very well themed. This is one of the best rapids rides in the world, definitely. If you kind of walk just a little bit past where Roaring Rapids is, you have the Challenge Trail. And this is the kind of attraction you probably will never see in the US. This is not, just a walk through. This is not, the Swiss Family Treehouse or Tarzan's Treehouse. This, you actually have to get, a little bit of a rig that you have to put on, and you get attached with a rope and safety gear to an overhead wire. And that wire keeps you from hurting yourself and falling because you're walking across these crazy rope bridges and step bridges and, pretty high up in the air. And if you fall, you're in trouble. You could even die for sure. So this Challenge Trail's not for the faint of heart. Keep walking past that, and you'll see that big waterfall off that cliff that I mentioned earlier. This is not just a theming element. That waterfall and cliff is hiding the show building for the Soarin' ride at Shanghai Disneyland. Now, the Soarin' ride is very different theming-wise compared to the other Soarin' rides, for example, in the US. This is basically analogous to the Tower of Terror ride at Disney Sea, and how its theming is completely different than the other Towers of Terror which have been Twilight Zone themed, of course, until the one at DCA was rethemed into Guardians of the Galaxy. But its original theming was, of course, Twilight Zone Tower of Terror. The one in Japan has completely different theming. Likewise, the spirit of aviation theming, if you will, that we have at the other Soarin' rides does not apply here at the one at Shanghai Disneyland. Instead, it's some sort of mystical woman, witch, if you will, sorceress, and she is casting you away onto this flying theater type ride. And in fact, instead of Patrick Warburton doing his very famous safety speech, it's this Asian enchantress that does the equivalent safety speech. It's quite amusing for those of us who've been on Soarin' so many times that we can quote the whole speech, watching her do an equivalent speech with similar aspects to it, people taking off the Mickey ears and so forth. Very different because it's the different theming. Now, if you continue to walk past Soarin' Adventure Island, it takes you into Treasure Cove, and this is the Pirates area. So you have the Pirates of the Caribbean Battle for the Sunken Treasure, which is their Pirates Dark ride. And wow, I'm sure you've heard it, but you're gonna hear it from me now. This ride is amazing, absolutely amazing. The theming of it, the level of detail, the combination of practical effects, great high quality animatronics, really good animatronics, and all kinds of practical sets like you're used to from the Pirates rides that already exist prior to this. But then when you combine it with the huge screens and the fact that the boats are much more complex, they are not free moving, they're magnetically controlled, they can go forwards and backwards and sideways. They can go up and down the water a little bit. That goes along with the screen theming to simulate you going underwater and then coming back from underwater and going back above the water again. It's a huge part of the ride. The ride features a backwards drop on it towards the end. Absolutely incredible. This ride, so intricate, so detailed. It is definitely the best Pirates ride, for sure. But I would also contend it is the best dark ride in the world. Yes, it is better than Harry Potter's Forbidden Journey. It is better than that. It's better than Gringotts. And until Star Wars Land Galaxy's Edge opens, this is the best dark ride in the world. We'll see what happens after that. And, furthermore, I would say Shanghai Disneyland, between the combination of this best dark ride in the world, Pirates, and Tron, which is the best Disney roller coaster. Amazing launch on that ride. Super fun layout. Some of the best theming I've ever seen on a roller coaster anywhere, Disney and otherwise. Super fun layout. This ride is not inverting. It's definitely family friendly-ish, although very high speed. But what it does have is amazing overbank curves, super fun. And another thing about the ride is just sitting forward like you do on like a really aggressive sport bike definitely makes the ride seem different. Seems more aggressive, more thrilling, just because of the ride position. And then you add in the Tron theming, the music, the beautiful lighting, and the way that highlights the launch and the rest of the ride. It's just incredible. So Shanghai Disneyland is definitely one of the best Disney parks in the world, and among the international parks outside the US, it's definitely right up there with Disney Sea for the best international Disney park.
Thank you for watching our episode. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below, and don't forget to hit our next video, which is right here. Just go ahead and click on it. Don't be shy. Go ahead. It's right there waiting for you to watch.